Dear students of class 9 and 10, welcome to our English session today. Students, hope you are quite well, going on fine, though a pandemic situation is going on around the world. As your educational institution is closed, you have enough time and ample scope to study a lot. During these corona days, you can accompany your family, you can assist family affairs. At the same time, you can also utilize your time by taking better preparation for the next exam. So students, let's begin. So students, let's start our today's lesson. We see a picture on the screen. We like the baby because it is innocent. Here is a picture of a baby. So what is it, student? We like the baby because it is innocent. We know that it's a sentence. Yes, but if we say we like the baby, what is it? It's a part of a sentence. So we like the baby because it is innocent. It's a sentence. But if we say we like the baby, it is a part of a sentence. So students, our lesson is a part of a sentence. That means clause. Our today's lesson is clause. After the end of the lesson, you will be able to identify the clauses, identify the kinds of the clauses. That means how many clauses are there. Identify the structure of the clauses, recognize the clauses. What is clause? Look at the sentence. The teacher said that education is the backbone of a nation. Okay? We see another sentence. We see the baby who is praying to Allah. There are two sentences on the screen. Look. The teacher said that education is the backbone of a nation. We see the baby who is praying to Allah. So, what is clause? A clause is a part of a sentence. It is formed with a group of words having a subject and a finite verb. It can express a partial or full meaning of the sentence individually. I am repeating again, students, listen very carefully. Clause is a part of a sentence, but not every part is a sentence. If it has to be a clause, there must be a subject and a finite verb. I am repeating again. No part of a sentence is called a clause. If it has to be a clause, there must be a subject and a finite verb. And a clause can express a partial meaning or full meaning of the sentence individually. So students, now we can say what clause is. A clause is a part of a sentence where there are a subject and a finite verb. Look at the part of these two sentences. The teacher said, it is one part. That education is the backbone of a nation. It is another part. In each part, there is a subject and a verb. Suppose in the first sentence, the teacher said. Here, the teacher is a subject, said is finite verb. Also, in another part, education is the backbone of a nation. Here, education is the subject of the sentence, and is the finite verb here. Again, in the second sentence, we see the baby who is praying to Allah. In this part, we see the baby we is subject and see is verb. And again, who is praying to Allah? Here, the baby is subject and is praying verb. So now we can clearly say that clause is a part of a sentence where there must be a subject and a finite verb. I think now students, clause is clear to you. Let's move on to the next slide. Kinds of clauses. How many kinds of clauses are there in English grammar? Clauses are of three kinds: principal clause, subordinate clause, coordinate clause. You can take down, students. Clauses are of three kinds in English grammar: principal clause, subordinate clause, coordinate clause. Follow. I love my mother who loves me more than her life. Students, notice in this sentence there are two parts. One is I love my mother and another is who loves me more than her life. Notice carefully. I love my mother. If I hear I love my mother, my mind doesn't want to hear anything. This part can express its meaning individually. So we can say it's an individual clause. Independent clause is that expresses full meaning individually. And if we look at another part, who loves me more than her life, who loves me, it is dependent. It can't express its meaning completely. It expresses unclear meaning individually. So, I love my mother, it can express full meaning individually. Who loves me more than her life doesn't express meaning individually. Here we find two kinds of clauses: independent or dependent. So it's a principal clause, I love my mother, and it's a subordinate clause, who loves me more than her life. So we can clearly say that the clause which can express its meaning individually is called principal clause, and the clause that can't express its meaning fully or that expresses unclear meaning is called subordinate clause. Explanation of principal clause. I love my mother. I love my mother. Subject, finite verb, extension. So a principal clause is a clause that bears a subject, a finite verb, an extension, and works as a part of a bigger sentence. Again, principal clause is a clause that has a subject. There must be a subject, must be a finite verb, and an extension. And it works as a part of a bigger sentence. Now we will go to subordinate clause. Again, individually a principal clause and a simple sentence is the same. A principal clause and a simple sentence is the same. Whenever a principal clause is added with a bigger sentence, is considered as principal clause. So we can say a principal clause is a simple sentence, and if that clause is added with a bigger sentence, then it is regarded as principal clause. So from this slide we can say a principal clause is a clause where there are a subject, a finite verb, an extension, and it works as a part of a bigger sentence. Next slide. Explanation of subordinate clause. Who loves me more than her life? Who, subject, loves, finite verb, me more than her life. So, a subordinate clause is a clause that bears a subject, a finite verb, an extension. But the difference is that subordinate clause cannot work without the help of principal clause. It always depends on principal clause. So students, now the difference is clear between the principal clause and the subordinate clause. Both the clauses have a subject, a finite verb, an extension. But the principal clause can express its meaning fully. But a subordinate clause cannot work without the help of principal clause. A subordinate clause is always dependent on principal clause. Unless you work hard, you will fail. Unless you work hard cannot express full meaning. But if I say you will fail, it can express its full meaning partially, dependent on this principal clause. There are some special words by which subordinate clause is formed. You can note down, students. Subordinating conjunctions. Subordinate clause always takes this type of conjunctions after, before, in order that, since, though, whenever, whether, although, even if, once, so that, unless, where, while, as, even though, provided that, then, until, whereas, why, because, if, rather than, that, when, wherever. Subordinate clause takes these subordinating conjunctions. Relative pronoun, that, who, whose, which, whoever, whosever, whichever, whom, whomever. So students, subordinate clause takes subordinating conjunctions and relative pronouns. Students, now we will discuss about coordinate clause. I invited him and he accepted it. Look, I invited him. It's an independent clause. He accepted it. It's also an independent clause. So what is coordinate clause? He is poor but honest. When two independent clauses are added with a coordinating conjunction is called a coordinate clause. So students, there is nothing called coordinate clause. Actually, when two or more principal clauses are connected with coordinating conjunctions, then they are called coordinate clause. So coordinate clause is actually a principal clause, but if it is added with a coordinating conjunction, it is called coordinate clause. There are some special words by which coordinate clause is formed. Students, you can learn it by heart, learn this by heart. Coordinating conjunctions. When principal clauses are connected with these conjunctions, follow the chart. I am repeating again. When two or more principal clauses are connected with these coordinating conjunctions, then that clauses are called coordinate clause. Look at the chart I'm reading and, both, and, also, to, as well as, no less than, not only but also, now, well, either or, neither nor, otherwise, else, or, but, still, yet, nevertheless, however, while, only, therefore, then, so, so then. When two or more principal clauses are connected with these coordinating conjunctions, that clauses are called principal clause. So students, now we can clearly identify what is principal clause and what is subordinate clause and what is coordinate clause. For your better understanding, I am repeating the definition of these three clauses. The principal clause is the clause which is not dependent on other clause or clauses to express its meaning fully. And the subordinate clause is the clause which is dependent on principal clause to express its meaning completely. Both the clauses have their subject, finite verb, and extension. But the difference is that the principal is not dependent on other clause or clauses, but subordinate clause is always dependent on principal clause. And also coordinate clause. There is nothing called coordinate clause. Coordinate clause is principal clause. But when two or more principal clauses are connected with some coordinating conjunctions are called coordinate clause. So students, write down these sentences and find out and write the names of the clauses. Thank you students. See you again.